The PDQ Live team with Jordan, Tara, JJ, Jake, Chase, me, a New Year's partygoer who still hasn't found his way home. It's PDQ Live.
Hey everybody, welcome to PDQ Live. We're back after a couple of weeks off.
It feels like forever, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm so excited for this episode because you did all of the research and work while I sat on a beach. And I think like this should be the new...
You want this to be the new norm?
Division of labor.
Me too. Oh, yeah. It's perfect.
So we're here to talk about IT trends. Some of these are here already, and they're just gaining popularity. Some of them are kind of looking towards the what is going to be growing, if we think, in the future.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely correct.
All right. I haven't bothered to read your outline, so why don't you start us off? What's the first?
This is my shocked face right here. It's weird, Jordan. Huh. Okay, let's just get into it. You ready?
No one, yep.
Yep,
Okay.
let's dive.
So I did my normal ridiculous amount of research, start with 10 pages, pare it down to, look, it's less than a page.
You did good.
Are you excited?
That's both sides. Okay.
Okay. So we're going to start with AWS, OpenSearch Serverless. Okay. There's a few different companies that do this, but this one is the best.
Wait, Amazon somehow took the biggest market share of something?
That's correct. It's shocking. I know.
Shocker there.
Okay.
Right,
So
so the server, this is the one where if you're not using the resources, the servers will automatically scale down and scale up
yes,
for you.
it's scalable cloud
So
storage, essentially.
I like that one a lot. There's other parts to it where I'll be more negative if we're being honest. But for this first one on the scale down, I like that a lot because no server is ramped up all the time. And if you can cut down, a couple of hours of processor time, it's going to save you money every month. So it's a good deal if you have it set up right. You just get, I haven't tested it live, so I don't know. Does it scale up the servers fast enough, or do you have like a window where it's going to
Well,
drag?
let me tell you. I'll tell you the big bullet points, and then you can tell me.
Okay.
You can go off. Okay. So it does automatically scale up and down depending on your need. It's high availability. It's highly customizable. So I don't think you're going to like this, but you might, and it might work for some people. So it's not going to be perfect for everybody, but for some people, it's going to be great. So Amazon manages the infrastructure. So some people will love that. Some people will hate it. And they do all the monitoring. There's a thing called Amazon Cloud Watch, and it has a threshold for performance. So you can say, these are my metrics. This is what I want.
Managed services where you start to lose me. And it's a preference thing.
I knew you were going to say that.
So the scalability I'm all in on.
Yeah.
I love that, especially if you set up properly, depending on how quick it scales up, how quick you can create a new server now. I imagine that the scalability is pretty quick.
Yeah.
When you have someone else manage the things for you, you lose access to things. So back when I was Exchange 365 was still new, and I fought hard against you moving to it because once you were over there, you lose access to things like hub transport and other critical roles, things that I needed to do my job, especially where, the mortgage industry had just caused the economy to collapse. So there were new rules and regulations that I had to enforce, and it was impossible. I think I've heard since then that you now have access to those kind of roles and you can work around that. But at the time, I didn't have, by giving up the management and saving me a few hours, I would lose critical things that I needed to do.
Yeah.
It grew and it fixed. For the servers, I would have to see what access you lose.
Well, so let me just tell you, these are big companies that are using these services like Netflix. When they're going to release a series that they know is going to be huge, going to go viral, they scale up. And they get more availability. So these are big companies that are using this service. So I have to imagine it's quite flexible.
And that can be a question, do they use it for their streaming environment, but there's things internal where they don't because it doesn't work for them because they need, there's a lot of questions. So I think it is a fantastic service. I just think that's one of those, test it out and see what you lose when they manage the service for you. Just because if you have some customization you need, if you lose that, it's going to be a big problem.
Right.
Overall, though, especially for smaller teams or apparently larger teams, taking it off your plate is a big win.
Yeah. Well, they say they offer more security, better encryption, better isolation. I thought you'd like that. You only pay for the resources you use, and for IT people, future job opportunities. Are you ready? The average salary for an Amazon cloud practitioner is $127,000 a year.
It's not a bad start.
So a good job for the future. There's like 5 certificates you can get for this particular job.
Even just not for the job, though. I like the service. I think there's a lot of value there, but I think that's one of those. It's not a end-all solution. Just test it out, know your environment.
Yeah.
But if it's a cookie cutter environment, that is the ideal thing to go with, I think.
I think so. I mean, I love it, but yeah, you're right. It's not for everybody. Okay, that's the first one. Right. You ready for the next one? Okay, the next one, I'm going to call it AI everywhere. So AI is a service. Let's call it that. Okay, it encompasses a bunch of different things.
I think you should go quantum computing first.
I'm going to, but it all comes together. So it enables machines to think and act like a service. Okay, so companies can access AI without building their own mainframe. So that's kind of the big umbrella, and it leads into quantum computing. Okay. So quantum computing involves quantum physics.
So this is something where it's been talked about for years now.
For years.
It's not something that's even available yet, but...
It is.
It is available.
Yes, it is available.
Did everyone's nightmare scenario of encryption is no use anymore come true, or is it?
Not really. So it involves a couple different things. So with the advances in hardware, right, that's part of it. But AI comes into it because AI has the ability to parse large amounts of data a lot faster than humans, right? You can imagine that. It's pretty easy to imagine that scenario, right? Absolutely. Well, now you couple it with big computers. You put those things together, and it's a far superior way to get a lot of crap done faster, right?
Absolutely. But it's not yet so fast as people thought. Because I remember when quantum computing was first brought up as a possibility, and I mean, security people hitting the alarm bells early, that's not new, or it's never going to stop.
No, for sure.
That's been beaten into him. But this one is like, as soon as quantum computing is here, all encryption is pointless. There's even spy novels out there following that one.
It's here, and I'm just going to read you the bullet points. It's here, but what they're thinking is in years to come, what it could potentially be is phenomenal. Okay. But only certain companies, the really big companies, have the money to really make it work well right now. So, use of AI to optimize design performance, improve efficiency, that's kind of a no-brainer, right? Stability and reliability, analyze and interpret quantum data, interpret vast amounts of data. We talked about that. They can identify patterns and trends, improve performance. AI can identify new areas where quantum computing can be used to solve complex problems and accelerate scientific discovery. That's the big one.
That one's my favorite just because basically the existence of this, the main use is to find more uses for it.
Well, I mean, it can push new innovations, though, and particularly in medical fields, in scientific fields. That's where the biggest buzz is about this.
So, and I thought that was pretty awesome. But the main thing for me, as far as my understanding for AI goes, is not there.
Yeah, it is for big companies. Only big companies.
Like with all things, if you throw enough money at it.
That's exactly right. Okay, but we're gonna stop there because let's go back to the AI. Okay, because what exists now with AI, and you don't even have to be a big company. Okay, but Kelly, yay! Okay, so this is my favorite.
She gets so excited.
I get so excited because I love little animated Tara. She's so adorable. Okay, so this is what exists today: is a company called OpenAI. That is heavily funded by Microsoft. So OpenAI, it says it's an open source, but it's not really.
Well, Microsoft has a whole bunch of open source. So it can be Microsoft open source. PowerShell is open source. The desired state configuration is open source. Microsoft is pushing more and more things open source. It doesn't mean you can go in and make the changes, but you can go in and see the source code, and you can recommend changes if you see something you can contribute. So Microsoft and open source isn't the laughable concept it was in years past. It's pretty common anymore.
Okay. Well, that's a good description, actually. So OpenAI is... let's just... can I just show you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this really quick. I've been playing with mine for since you've been gone. It's kind of replaced you, actually.
It's good.
It's kind of like you.
Already, so it is good. So is AI so good that it can replace me in 2 weeks, or was I just that bad?
Well, you're kind of like a robot, so it's that. Okay, so we're going to go to chat.openai.com. And right now it's free, Jordan. So anybody can create an account. So it's in beta. So I've spent the last few weeks just playing around with it. So we're just going to go to the top because I like to scroll. It drives everybody crazy, but I really like to scroll. It's very soothing. So, okay, you just create an account, and I use my Gmail, but you can create your own if you want. And then you can also create a Discord account, and that's hilarious, by the way. Yesterday went down for a minute, and people were freaking out in Discord. It's fun to kind of watch the chat. So, you can start by just kind of talking to it. And I'm going to tell you a couple things. It's in beta.
Okay.
It's not perfect. So what they have found, though, is that it can write college essays in the bottom 20% of college students, full essays. It can code, though, in the top 20% of coders. So that's the amazing part. So where I started was I made little chats in these certain areas, and I started asking him questions. I called my chat GPT Joshua. Mm-hmm. Isn't that adorable?
You named him?
I named him. Mine's called Joshua.
Can people figure out why or how you got to the name Joshua?
Yeah. Can we do a code, boss?
If you could put it in the chat. Yeah. How does she come up with the name Joshua for her chat GPT?
And I think we should give him a clue, though. I'm old, so you gotta dig back, people. Okay, so I started an Active Directory, Jordan. So I started just asking him quick questions. Tell me about Active Directory. And this took Joshua 6 seconds. What's an OU? Tell me about an OU. And I'm going to tell you one thing. They already got it.
More games right away.
The more specific you are with your AI, the better he does. So it will spit out these answers almost instantaneously. So I just started kind of building on it. And if you think about it as a very granular Google search, it's incredibly useful. But what you can't do is take it as 100% true, because I did find some errors.
So you started off with asking the questions you knew the answer
Yes.
to, just to see.
To see if it was right.
And then one of them, I think at one point you went into networking.
Yeah, okay, so this is Active Directory, and I actually didn't find any errors in Active Directory. I didn't find anything, but I love this. How can PDQ make my life easier? And look at this. I think this was 10 seconds. Can you please tell me how I deal with stuck deployments in Smart Deploy? Look at that.
So already it's making Salesforce.
I know. Okay, so then I jumped over to, I did some in group policy. Because, like, how many times have you had to search for how to do a group policy? Look how quickly it spat it out. And these are all actually correct. But I thought, wow, that's so useful for an IT person. Instead of wasting so much time looking up where to go, is it a computer configuration? I'm like, oh my gosh, what a time saver, right?
Yeah, so that seems to me, right now, the feeling I get for this is it's a phenomenal research tool or teaching device.
Yeah, it would just save me time in my day-to-day, right? So I was excited about group policy because that's just easy. That's just, I don't want to look up where I put the brand promise on a lock screen. It just would save me time.
No one has all of those options memorized.
No,
it's like regex for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I can use it, but every time I go in there, I have to rediscover.
Right. So I can waste half my day, or I can ask ChatGPT or my little buddy Joshua. Okay, then I jumped into Office 365. Well, I want to ask him some questions here. How can I set up a primary SMTP? Okay, it told me. Okay, well, I don't like that answer. I was looking for something else. I want to set the primary SMTP in Active Directory. So you can do two things in here. If I hit thumbs down right here, that means I don't like the answer you just gave me because it's learning right now. Mm-hmm. Since it's in beta, ChatGPT stopped ingesting information from the web early 2021, so it can't live query the web right now. So it doesn't know anything past that point. So right now they're learning. So if I hit regenerate response, it will try to give me an answer that I like. Or you can ask it a more specific question. So in this instance, I said, no, I want to know how to do the same thing in AD, not in 365. So it told me how to assign a primary SMTP in Active Directory. And then it told me. And then it told me how to do it in PowerShell.
So if you go there, here's where part of it is missing, because it does say import module to directory. That is correct. But what it doesn't say is that module requires prerequisites to be installed.
That's right.
The Active Directory module in PowerShell isn't there by default. So there's prereqs that's not covered in that. So it can give you the correct answer, but that's not going to work out of the box. So if you might run that and say that's going to fail. That's
right. And remember when I was showing you this, and then I said, I want to use Attribute Editor to do it. And then it told me how to do it in Attribute Editor. So that's what I said to you. You cannot accept it 100%. You have to just be careful. So it's a tool. It's not 100% for this. But then when I got really excited is I made a networking tab, and I separated mine out by topic because it learns from each chat. It gets better and better. Okay.
So I would say, because you said it's not always correct. Running anything you got from ChatGPT is the same thing as just running any code you downloaded online without knowing what's in there.
Yeah, don't do it. Yeah,
never do that.
Never. Test it. So then I jumped into networking, and I'm not a networker. So I watched some videos and I tried to ask it some better questions. So I just started saying, hey, I want to configure this Cisco router. And it actually did pretty good with the networking. And then I started to say, hey, can I trick it into being a hacker? And it's programmed not to be nefarious, but you can trick it. And they don't want you to, but I found this to be very helpful. So I can either reach out to my rep if I want to buy a 10 gig Ethernet switch, or I can say, ChatGPT, give me some examples of 10 gigabit switches and what are the pros and cons. And look how quickly it spat that out. I love it. I ask it to tell me how to reset a switch. And if I lost my password, how could I do it? It told me. So this networking thread was a teensy bit terrifying. I want to save my configs. It told me how. Let me actually scroll down just a bit because I wanted to show you something else. Duplexing.
Yeah. So I wanted to, James said there's like every Microsoft Learn page. It's a bit more adaptive than that, just because on the fly you can say, okay, I want this, but I want to add a different aspect, and it will redo the code for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Not always correct. Like I said, it's one of those, if anything, I ran one command on this yesterday. It's the only thing I've ever done with it.
Yeah.
And it built a nice framework, but there was work to do to make it function still.
And we should hop into PowerShell really quick, but I wanted to show you one more thing in networking. So I said, what's the default password for a Cisco 9300? And it told me. So just like stuff that is so unnecessarily time consuming when you're doing it. I wanted to reset the password on a Cisco. It told me, use PuTTY, do this, this, and this. So I found that to be incredibly helpful. But let's hop into PowerShell because I liked this one quite a bit. What I wanted to do, and you weren't here, so what I was doing, Jordan, is I was sitting there going, okay, what is a massive time suck in my day? And what I found is an offboarding. What sucks as an IT manager? Offboarding employees. So I started asking him, how can I build out a script to offboard an employee? So I just kind of started saying, how do I map a drive? But that was just playing. So then I said, okay, I want to automate, that was user creation, but I want to automate offboarding. Okay. So I started asking him individual questions. And then when I saw that it was on the right track, let's scroll down to the very bottom. And I was kind of waiting for you to get here to see if it was right, because I don't know PowerShell, but you do. Okay. How do I automate this process? So let me come to the very bottom and you can look at it. But this is just me working on it. So I essentially said, remove the license, create a shared mailbox. I had him write an out of office reply because I hate doing that. That's a pain. I had him take the user in Active Directory, pull it out, put it in a different OU, set the delegate access to the manager, right? So let's scroll down and then we'll have you look at it. Okay, so I don't know PowerShell, but you do. So do you want to tell us how the ChatGPT did?
So my issue was only with when you said I want to have this automated. The script that they still had in there had hard-coded changeable information instead of making them variables, which means anything, even if you set this to run at a certain time to try to automate, it's going to run the same thing over and over because it has no way to adapt to new information.
Okay.
So I think it missed there, like having... Seeing stuff like this, I don't like, just because unless you're firing John Doe a lot, This script is only useful for John Doe. So all the commands in there, everything works. That was fine. That worked fine. But the script itself, this case will work for John Doe, sending to specifically Jane Doe. There's no way to dynamically build that out. So.
Mm-hmm. But do you think it's because I don't know enough about variables to ask it the right question, Jordan?
And we tested that one later where you just basically asked it for a question on variables.
Yeah.
And because the way the question was phrased, it just basically gave you a description of variables that was acceptable.
Okay, so let's ask her the right question because you know what you're doing.
Yeah, so what I came in and tried, I think I typed one line if I can find it, probably have to go all the way to the bottom here.
Yeah.
Is I saw in your script you had already put a default in there, like the OU that it was looking to.
Yes.
Users to. So I came in and said, can you rewrite it to run for each account in the deleted users and forward the message to whoever is in the manager attribute?
Yes.
Because the two bits of information in there that needed to be changeable were who's firing and where is it forwarding to.
Yes.
And from that, first of all, it thought that I was violating content policy.
Yeah, I didn't like something about that, right?
But then it came through and it built this and it was, I mean, mostly correct. There's some thing we can go over that one real quick, but it's install these modules. I'm not sure, like module names, that's one I'd have to double check. I don't know if Exchange Online is the correct module name for that one, especially where most likely it's like anything that they put an Azure AZ in front of it. But so they suggested this module. I don't know if that's the correct name or not. Active Directory is the correct module for on-prem Active Directory. If you're specifying on-prem, that's correct, but you still need the prerequisites inside. So everything's in there, but there is some, you always have to come in here. You still have to hard type in your credentials, which means you can't put automation in there. But then after that, it gets a list of all mailboxes in the OU we wanted. And then it builds a for each one and it runs for each one and it does send it to whoever is the manager in that AD attribute. And then it came down to the bottom here and it dropped off and it never finished building the out of office. But
it did in the previous versions, right? So we just need to tweak it because it did put that out of office
versions,
before.
yeah. And it also never closed the for each loop.
Okay.
So this, if you tried to run this, it would fail.
Okay.
And so there are some changes, like you need to put the body of text, but if we go to the one above it, that's what it had there. And then you just need basically the close squirrely bracket. And that script would be able to, if you set that to run, you would still have to manually type the credentials, but everything else would be automated.
That's pretty awesome, though. Yeah.
And since we don't want to come in and hard type the credentials, there was one I wanted to try, but we wanted to test this one live.
Oh, yeah, let's try it. Okay.
If I can figure out where I type. There we are.
So to me, that's pretty cool because I don't know PowerShell.
Yeah. We changed the credentials to use the secrets module.
Okay.
I'm curious to see if this one works live. I don't know. I think secrets might be relatively new, so it might not even be ingested since it stopped a little over a year and a half ago. But let's find out. So the first, well, there's that PS credential. Yep. So well, that's right, and we can talk that one over. But this is one. The secrets module, especially the way it is now, is much improved over what it was 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a way this is going to come up with the best version of it. I'm curious to see what it does do, because if you can automate the way that it... Yeah.
And so it's got 1 billion users as of 2 days ago. Yeah. So it
can't you just regenerate?
You can, but you might have to refresh the page.
Did it crash?
Well, it's been doing this. It's been doing this the last couple of days. I think I read a thing yesterday saying it's $7 million a request. It's getting no, I'm serious. There's so many people using it, and there's so many people like what we're doing right now that's just really taxing it now.
Yeah.
It's just become incredibly expensive. So sometimes we'll get caught up like this. So from 2 weeks ago till today, when I first started using it, I've noticed this more and more.
See, even this time it went from using the PS credential object typed to the default Azure credential.
Yeah.
So it's different in that one. So I was curious to work because this is one that it fascinated me, but especially where the secrets module has done a lot of growth in the last 18 months. So it's going to be pretty limited.
Yeah.
So, and that's when all it's doing is building a new credential, but you still have to type it, but it's not using the secrets. So to get this fully automated, I'd still have to go in there. I'd have to make some adjustments. I'd have to make it so it pulls from my secrets module to securely pass through credentials. It keeps your, so it didn't build the onboarding that we wanted after the test. But what it did do is it built the entire framework. So the amount of time it would have taken me to write that is taken off my plate, and it saves me time there. So it's not, and where this is automation, so it's not like it's an ongoing savings in time. But every time if you're building a framework, there's some tweaks I have to make. It looks like it failed again, so it looks like it's struggling today.
It is struggling today, yeah.
It goes back to, this isn't something where it's going to do anything production for you. Well, I don't want to say ever because things change, but for now.
Yeah.
But if you're doing things like within PowerShell like this, and you don't want to do all the framework, there's already templates out there for PowerShell. It's basically a quick way to have something do the template for you. And then you just have to go in and make some customization. And then it can work in your environment. In this case, I mean, it failed at that.
So a good recommendation would be trust, but verify.
Trust,
right?
Yeah. And I don't want to make you cry, Jordan, but what a lot of the experts are saying that I watch, because I watched a lot of stuff on this, is that kind of gone are the days of memorizing thousands of commands, because AI is going to have the ability to just tell you what the commands are, and it's going to become so much more of a learning tool. So you're going to have a little computer buddy of your own. What are you going to name yours?
But the appeal to me of that is I'm terrible at remembering commands. I'm awful at it. I use Git help all the time. Now they have F1 with the new. I just forgot the name of the module they have in there. But there's a module built in with most of your PowerShell things where you hit F1 and it will give you the help menu for the command. Or if you don't know what attribute, you can hit F1 specifically at there, and it'll give you information on just that part of the help documentation. Yeah. So I use that all the time anyway because I don't remember. So this is fantastic for me. I know I have to go in there and make some changes. I have to make some fixes. Like the secrets module, that was always a long shot because it would have to know how to connect to, even if the secrets module has been existing for a long time, it'd have to know where I keep my information on my machine to put the commands to say that. So it can give you a template of, here's what the template of secrets looks like, but you're still going to have to go in there and update that.
Yeah. Well, so there's a big concern that ChatGPT is going to be used to hack computers. I tried to trick it a few times, and you can get around it. You definitely can. I watched a show yesterday where a guy had it hacking passwords. It can hack passwords. So there's definitely, you can do some bad things with it.
It's no different. I mean, it's different in accessibility type of, but script kiddies have always been a thing. There are people that are going to find a tool that does the work for them. And so it does make far more dangerous actions accessible to less technical bad faith actors. That is a friendly way to put that.
Yeah, it is.
That's true.
But I think, you know what, one of the most exciting things about this for me is how much time it can save you in certain aspects of your job. I mean, we're talking about it from a coding perspective and using PowerShell. I actually used this. I had a project that I needed to do. I needed to write some things incorporating a huge amount of information. It would have taken me at least 4 hours to do. I thought, all right, let's do an experiment with ChatGPT. And I said, okay, I want you to write something in this style, incorporating these bullet points. Boom, it did it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it wasn't perfect, but what it did for me is it gave me enough of a skeleton that I could go back in and tweak it, rewrite it, massage it to the point that I thought it was good and acceptable. And it literally saved me at least 4 hours of work.
Oh, easily.
You know? So it is a good tool, but again, not perfect. You're absolutely going to have to verify. Jordan, you put it in wonderfully well by saying it's like just grabbing some code and then just running it. You would never do that.
We say no, we've seen that done lots. Yeah. You should never do that.
You should never do that.
So while you're talking, I just thought I'd show why I think this is a great teaching tool. When I was in PowerShell, the first thing where I hit a wall and I didn't even know where to get started on getting the information was calculated properties, although I didn't even know the name of it at the time. So I just came in here and I said, what are calculated properties while you're talking? And it came back, it gave me a definition, it gave me an example. A lot of examples you see online, it will just say L equals and E equals because what's on that side of the statements doesn't matter. It means label and expression. But this one came out and gave a better idea of name and expression, so it was the same thing. So it's a fantastic way. It gave me all the information I need to know on calculated properties, which is in the help documentation, but as a teaching tool or a learning tool, or there's something I'm struggling to grasp the concept of, I think this is extremely valuable.
Yeah, a lot of coders are saying in this iteration, you can't import information. You can type it in, and then it can help you code if you get stuck. It will help you, but you could say, please type this in Python, and it will. Please, it knows all the languages. But, in a year, where is this going to be in a year? They're already saying that there's going to be legal apps where it can write wills for you. They will feed it information, and it will be able to do legal work of first and second year associates. They're saying there's going to be medical apps where it can diagnose you. So, it's going to be limitless, really.
Absolutely. But for now, this is something that I think is worth looking into today.
Oh, yeah.
Just as a pure teaching tool. If you have a new person starting in and they need to grasp the basics of some part, what it is, Exchange, PowerShell, Python, whatever it is, giving them your tools how the system works, and then just the chat GPT where they can go there. And so how many times are new people, they're either too nervous to go ask a question because they're new, or they're having that there where as they're going, like, oh, I understand that. It's like, can you give me more information on the text they have over here? It's going to help them learn and grasp everything. It's going to get employees up to speed a lot faster.
While you were gone, I think like 3 times, I said, you should just fire me, Kelly, and hire Joshua right now. Just do it.
But, here's the thing. It's like I said, you really have to do a lot of hand-holding with this right now. Again, good tool. It's a great tool, but you have to use it as a tool and not as the end-all, be-all. Because, if you do that, you're just going to get yourself in trouble. You really are. What I think is going to be tragic and inevitable is when the paywall goes up. Because this isn't going to be free forever. No.
I need it. Don't take Joshua from me, Kelly. Don't.
We're taking her child away.
I need him.
Can we show the screen again? I want to show kind of where one of the areas that fell short. In this one, you were in the middle of building the automation, but as you said, it was hard coding data like John Doe, Jane Doe.
Yeah.
And you came in and said, how do I create variables for the script? And it gave you and I said acceptable definition of variables. I don't like this definition. But it's there, but it didn't even add it to the script. But it comes in here, like naming it string or integer has nothing to do with it is. The data type is the data type. Even like the array variable, that has nothing to do with what you put in this $sign. It all could be just named $sign variable.
Yeah.
It doesn't care what the name of the variable is. That's just for you to know. And then the data type is the data type. So if you create a variable, you pipe that into get member, it's going to tell you the data type. Because there's more than just these 3. So this is a beginners to variables, but I don't like the way it explained that.
But don't you think it's because I wasn't asking it the right way, whereas you are going to ask it the right way? Yeah,
and that's why we came into that, and then I saw what you were going for, and that's when I asked the question, is like, instead of saying I wanted the variables, I said I want to grab it for every user within this OU.
Yeah.
And then it dynamically knew to put in the variables.
Yeah.
So based on the more you know about a subject, the more granular you get the questions, and the better your answers are going to be.
Yeah, I agree.
So it is limited. It's, I'm not going to say it's a steep barrier to entry, but the more you know about something, the more valuable data you're going to be able to pull.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
How long until our robot overlords take over? I don't know, next week, Jordan? You think maybe next week?
We'll have to ask Colby. He's plugged directly in. Yeah, can't guess intent. I think recently there's a bug out there where you can ask it a hypothetical, and it will bypass all of the concerns because you're not asking it to do anything illegal.
Remember, I did it on the pre-show. We're not going to say what I ask it, but yeah.
Yeah, so if you ask a hypothetical, I'm sure that will be fixed.
Bummer, because that was fun.
It's true.
So it's like with any newer technology, there's flaws and everything, but the potential of this as like learning and teaching, I don't even care about the production. Saving time on building out the framework of the script, that's nice. But ultimately, there's going to be things that you have to customize. It's not going to give you the full story. But the learning and teaching is, I can't even calculate the value of that. That's fantastic. It gives access to anyone with an internet connection the ability to learn things that may have been a struggle before.
For sure.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. That's kind of the 3 new things. I know you mentioned some of them were scary. I don't see it that way.
Because you're a robot.
Because I'm not in security. My first thought is not, this is going to destroy everything. It's like, that is extremely valuable. I like to see the benefit, which is weird for me, without worrying about the consequence. I know that's not my normal, but all three of these, some of them are more mainstream right now. I would say AWS is worth looking into today. As far as the trends, there's a reason that was taken off. I would recommend the AI instantly just for pure teaching. You can even have a policy, nothing that goes into here will ever go into production. That's fine. But just as a pure teaching to get people up to speed, invaluable. And I feel like quantum computing still has a ways to go.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right.
I would agree. Correct.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. I enjoyed this one a lot. I didn't have to do any of the prep. I just got to learn. That's you're my own personal AI. For PDQ, I'm Jordan.
I'm Tara.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Happy New Year and best of 2023. Wow, 2023. That is weird to say. Thanks again. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you back here next time.